How's it going, team? This is the Brown Man. We're gonna jump right into the video. The video is going to be a more nuanced take on tier list. So I'm actually going to break down several concepts for you guys. There will actually be bookmarks, timestamps I believe they're called. Yeah, timestamps. And you guys can skip to the section that you guys feel is appropriate. Maybe you have a favorite character that I'm talking shit about, and yeah, I'll talk shit about that character. Cheryl, cough, cough, cough. So when it comes to Evil Dead the game, there are 4 classes, and I think it is important to actually discuss the actual role of each of the 4 classes. The role of support isn't strictly to heal. The role of support is to mitigate the damage your team receives. Support is supposed to keep your team alive, right? By whatever means. The more, if the support is effective at keeping your team alive, whether it be by having never-ending amulets or a bunch of melee damage, as long as the support is doing well, functionally keeping your team alive and making your team really difficult to break through, your support is doing their job. So that looks different depending on certain supports. So someone might have a preference in how a support does their job, but as long as the support is carrying you guys on their back, you cannot like what the support does or not. The support is doing their job. So you guys, some of y'all might not like Blacksmith. Blacksmith is not my personal favorite support, but if Blacksmith invests in all damage and is balance bar stunning every goddamn thing to death in a couple of seconds, then you know what? It's not my personal preference of playing, but he is doing the support's job. He is putting the pressure. He's doing damage. He is also, once again, mitigating the damage the team is doing. That's the job of support. Job of support is to keep the team going. Hunters, their job is DPS and removal of units. That's their primary job. Their primary job is to do the most amount of damage to a single target. Single target DPS is not the same thing as damage on the scoreboard at the end of the game. Damage on the scoreboard at the end of the game is rigged to go to melee monsters. It's rigged to go through melee monsters because they can attack 3 or 4 things at the same time. Hunters damage typically one specific target at a time. So they are there to be deployed, get rid of player controlled units that can do the most damage to the team, get them the fuck out of play ASAP. So that's why it's called damage over time, or damage per second, or DPS. And hunters have the highest DPS, even if it doesn't show that they have the highest damage at the end of the game. When you do the math, they should have the highest damage done per hit, or per second rather, than anybody else when it comes to one-on-one damage. Warriors, their job typically is to take hits, take a certain amount of hits, and do consistent damage and consistent balance bar damage. That is generally the role of warriors. Very simple, right? I mean, they don't have nothing super complicated. And leaders, the job of leaders is to provide a buff that benefits the team, as well as typically what I personally believe their duty is to hold extra ammo as well, because they can hold the second highest amount of ammo one invested besides hunters themselves. So they're there to make sure that everyone has what they need to keep it going. Leaders are they have more stamina than warriors, more health than hunters, and they are there to generally stay in the fight. Kind of like warriors, just stay in the fight, do consistent damage, consistent balance bar damage, and buff the team. And I had to get over, or rather get through, the 4 classes and the roles of the 4 classes before I get into the tier list. So now that you guys know, I'm judging all these characters based off of how well they fulfill these roles. And first off, we're going to go into the first 3 characters. These first 3 characters are what I can consider S tier characters. First off, in S tier is going to be Evil Dead 1 Ash. Evil Dead 1 Ash is a very unique character. He can be very easy to play or very difficult to play, depending on team composition, depending on playstyle as well. Evil Dead 1 Ash is unique in his ability to do a whole lot of shit for fucking free. In a game where resource management is very important, getting a lot of shit done for free is just so ridiculous. You can have, going back into talking about the role of leader, you can have El Jefe on your team and an Arthur. You can have both of them on your team along with the Evil Dead 1 Ash, and you'll almost have to never worry about heals. You can almost never worry about running low on Shemps, because you pretty much don't need to use that ever. You can blitz through objectives because you don't need to even look for Shemps that hard. You can gab some, but it's all up to you. There's several times where people were just dropping power possessed puppeteer basics. They were just getting shredded, and they can barely make a dent through our health because we're just chewing them up and getting free heals off of the units. His ability to heal for free while doing damage, while having peel, is unique and is just super good. This also goes with my personal methodology of there's almost no reason not to have 1 or 2 leaders on a team. They buffed leaders' stats up. They perform nearly as well as hunters and warriors. And passing up on literal free, almost unlimited healing is a faux pas, I believe, in the player base of Evil Dead, the game. There are several times where you can get 40,000 damage, 25,000 heal. It just gets really ridiculous with Ash. Mark target damage and mark target healing is going to be the hidden secret of Evil Dead 1 Ash. This allows him to peel Evil Ash off the book. It's going to allow him to peel Henrietta. It's going to allow him to peel things off of him. His ability to do that allows hunters to actually dodge and heal for themselves when they're getting picked on, and allows dudes to actually power through units like crazy. Of course, some people, it might not be their preference to buff ranged. Might not be their preference to fight in the middle of combat, but with a decent amount of skill, a decent amount of patience, understanding which weapon has which time frame, it becomes almost a non-factor. The fact that he's meleeing in the middle of combat, and frequently healing himself. It is not unusual to have a purple spear or blue axe and being able to solo early to mid game a plague bringer boss, just heavy attacking through all of her attacks and pretty much keeping yourself nearly at full as a support soloing a boss like that. It gets crazy. It's not unusual to have maybe a good weapon, and if you know how to dodge, soloing possessed units by yourself. It gets really fucking ridiculous. And even possessed puppeteer basics, if you are in a spot that you're comfortable in, you have a decent weapon, it is not unusual to be able to handle units like that by yourself as a unit, as a support character. And if you can't do that by yourself, it is not unusual to easily power through them using melee with a leader like El Jefe, Arthur, or even both on your side. But you do want to be mindful that it takes a lot of practice to do well with Evil Dead 1 Ash, to be able to be a nuisance. And that's what this guy can be. He can be pretty much a nuisance, an almost unkillable man god beast. There are several games too where it could be in Henrietta. They can activate their active ability, and you can't chain balance bar when they activate really bad influence. But you got yourself a purple lumberjack axe, and you're hitting everything around you, including the possessed unit. And now this possessed unit can't break through you because you're healing off every goddamn thing, and you're healing 1/5 to 1/4 of your health back for each swing. It gets really fucking ridiculous. Just the amount of shit that this guy can do. Totally. But I do want to put a little mention in here that you guys are probably going to have to work on headshots a little bit if you guys aren't using shotguns. I typically use the revolver. Yeah, I got 1.3 on third-person sensitivity and 1.25 on the aiming sensitivity. But as you guys put in several days, hours, weeks, months in practicing Evil Dead 1 Ash, he will shine. But surely he is the kind of character that you do need to put in a lot of work to play him optimally. If you don't have like a pre-made team that just lets him spam melee and do well, if you're like soloing or if you're using gun heavy with headshots, that takes a bit more skill and is very intensive to do. The next up is actually going to be El Jefe for S tier. El Jefe beat out Annie in terms of S tier because of Annie's nerf. Don't get me wrong, Annie is still good. Annie is still worthy of respect. El Jefe has show up and blow up for balance bar. El Jefe is his aura. This allows him to actually walk around doing 1.2 damage. He does not have a debuff to weapons, so it just goes around with 1.2. El Jefe has 4 pink F investments available for melee and for ranged. The 4 pink F investment allows him to actually do 20% extra damage in melee, 20% extra damage in ranged, 10% extra reload for obviously ranged, and 10% extra speed for melee. So when you're just walking around with full melee and full range invest, you're walking around doing 1.4 extra damage, which is not bad. It's not the same amount of damage as a fully invested hunter or a fully invested warrior on either end, but it is a happy middle in between where you are doing enough. And this guy will hurt. Last word and whatnot will hurt, especially if you're going into if you get off El Jefe Grande, you're doing 1.4 damage now. The anti-fear is great. Anti-fear makes it less likely for you guys to get possessed. And once again, especially when paired up with an Evil Dead 1 Ash, this greatly protects your hunters and others from being possessed. When you have ED1's D-Fear along with El Jefe's natural fear resistance, it's going to be very difficult to start possessing hunters in the presence of both of y'all. He just works so well, once again, when paired with the best support in the game, which is ED1 Ash. He buffs range damage by 20%. That 20% stacks with mark target damage. That's a 40% buff to all ranged damage, including obviously himself, and that'll also go to the hunter. That'll also go to the ED1. ED1 obviously when he does more damage with range, he heals himself more. So it just gets really, really fucking crazy. And of course, 20% extra damage to melee as well, which buffs the alternate healing. It just gets super fucking crazy. Army of Darkness Ash is also in S tier. This is actually going to be really short. What doesn't he do? More damage, less damage taken, health recovery, defear, a free shield explosion, free shield regeneration, Weapon Master Chainsaw is only 5%, but fuck it, Weapon Master Chainsaw. So there's nothing really to say here. He's just a good all-around dude who has protagonist powers. There's really nothing for me to elaborate on. I think if you guys see Army of Darkness Ash, you already know he's a protagonist. He has the power. Next up in A tier, we're actually going to go into ED2. The reason why ED2 Ash, I put him in A+ tier, not in S tier. I put him A+ tier because he does rely on ammunition. But of course, he has to be an A+ tier. He has an insta-kill when it comes to possessed units. Be mindful when doing this against an Elagos. You can tell the difference between a power-possessed unit and a non-power possessed unit. A power possessed unit will have a bit of a red mist on them. So you'll want to use his power on a power possessed unit. So make sure you can tell the difference. Also, be mindful, don't just throw his power out there when a unit is about to be defeated. I see a lot of ED2 Ashes out there just throwing the power out when a unit is about to be, it's like when they have a slither of health left, and then this guy comes out and does the banish shit. It's like, it's not worth it. Just let the unit die. The unit has 5% health. Just use it to kill a fresh unit. It's a complete waste of power. He does have the ability to see crates and their rarities from a short distance. That allows him to skip over units. Over chests, which is good. I'm the guy with a double barrel and Weapon Master double barrel. This allows him to actually start with one of the strongest weapons in the game and have a proficiency with one of the strongest weapons in the game. And of course, that is very good. And one thing too is that being an Evil Dead 2 Ash, everyone should know that this guy is going to be using long ammo. If you see an Evil Dead 2 Ash, if the only guns you guys have access to is long, that's fine. But the minute you guys find something else, even if you don't like it, drop the long gun. Leave long gun ammo for ED2 Ash. I'm tired of seeing fucking derpy ass Cheryls with shotguns. Yeah, it's like, ugh. We'll get to Cheryl later. We'll get to Cheryl later. But totally good. If you guys want to go for headshots, Surgical Strike is really good. I want you guys to also know that when it comes to headshots, only the pellets that hit the head get the headshot buff. It's several pellets released per shot. So for one headshot, maybe only a couple will get the buff. But if you have Surgical Strike, you reduce the spread, more pellets will hit the head, so a lot more pellets will get the damage buffing benefit of a headshot. And of course, if you want to be a complete dupe, you can go for Wing Splitter. And of course, you can take some stuff out of here if you want. All up to you. Next up in the A tier will be Annie. Annie was dethroned by El Jefe. But Annie benefits warriors and hunters, so that's why she is high up on the list, because she benefits every goddamn body. Her slugger being reduced to 60% instead of 100% is what got her knocked down a little bit, and the balance bar damage to elites and basics being dropped 10% didn't help either. Unfortunately, unlike what they did to Arthur, they didn't merge these two very similar fucking abilities together. They kept them as two Evil Dead the Game devs. I love this game, but these motherfuckers are they're a bit inconsistent dupes. We need them to be a bit more consistent and merge like or nearly identical perks together on all characters, including Annie. Give Annie a different fucking thing. Let her have Weapon Master Revolver. Give her something. That would be pretty dope. Or start with Revolver. That would be sexy as well. To start with the Revolver. That way all leaders start with a weapon. That would be beautiful. And Annie is once again, she plays like a hunter. She's a very simple character. There's not really much to say about Annie, except for the fact that, you know, stunning things quicker helps protect the book and protect the support, protect everyone from taking damage. When you protect the team from taking damage, that means you can use less shemps, and everyone's safe and much happier. Annie is still a very solid leader, very solid character to play, and once again, leaders have the buff. So she actually has 5 pink F in range and 3 pink F in melee. So since she has the 5th pink F in range, she actually has 20% damage buff, but she has a 50% reload reduction. 50% reload reduction. So she's actually, her gun DPS is actually up quite a bit because of that reload reduction. That allows her to handle certain guns that have quite a bit of a reload time, like the hunting rifle. Next up, we're gonna go with David. David is another support that I love. David is a guy that can actually hold his own against certain units, thanks to his main attraction being Soda Pop. It lasts for an absurd 30 seconds, but it reduces damage to everyone on your team within range by 20%. It is important to understand how to play David properly. You want to drink your shemps when people are around 60 or 70% HP. You want to do so because they take less damage after you drink your shemps. So you want to pretty much top them off at 60-70%. Let them get the full benefit of the damage reduction, and then you heal them up as they get to 60-70%. You don't want to, you know, typically let them get below half. You can also use shields after Soda Pop, because your shields will last longer. Despite Pablo giving a little bit more shield, this guy actually 20% damage reduction on shield is effectively the same thing as 20% extra shield. So he gives extra shield by extension of his ability. Weapon Master Nail Gun. He is inferior to ED1 Ash because he has a proficiency in one gun alone. ED1, it does 20% extra damage with any gun. And of course the nail gun is a special gun, so the ammo is limited, and the hunter might be a bit better with special guns anyway. So that class of gun is not necessarily the best, but if you go with a pistol, then it does stack well with Boosted Beacon and Beacon of Hope, allowing him to actually bleed through the demon's infernal energy quite fast if you have a gun with a high rate of fire like the lever action or the pistol. Beacon of Hope is pretty good. You drop it on the book when the book starts, so that way possessions become more expensive. That way it spaces out the assault on the book a little bit more. it also helps them bleed infernal energy, so bosses and whatnot, they kind of have to die a little bit sooner on objectives, which is pretty good. He is the defensive side, the defensive side of the coin when it comes to support. They did nerf him recently. It was 30% damage reduction, now it's 20%. Because you can stack to ridiculous degrees. I stack here, going to 40% damage mitigation, and that is still really high. He's able to actually sit on an objective by himself, even when faced against a Henrietta. So that's just a testament to how tanky this guy can be. And once again, he's tanky enough to face on Henrietta, and he's still able to use a gun. So that is something that goes to the detriment and the lower placing of another character. Next up in AA tier is going to be Ed. Though I am not a fan of Ed, I do have to respect his newfound use of It's a Trap, or the newfound usefulness, rather, of It's a Trap. So his active ability is he just pops traps all around him, which is good because you can't dodge the mandatory damage from traps anymore. To him being able to just walk around and set them off actually saves him and the team quite a bit, and so I cannot underestimate the usefulness of that. Weapon Master crossbows, oh my god, they nerfed the shit out of that. At Prestige 1, it's a bit useful. They buffed it back to 10%, but without Prestige, it's only a 5% buff. That's horrible. But at least in terms of damage, dismemberment, balance bar, and reload, yeah, that's still at 20%. But the damage, for the damage buff to be so low, that just sucks, man. And the crossbows are not the easiest things to hit either, so it's a fickle gun to have a mastery in. But increasing the likelihood of having better weapons, better loot, also better chests, the likelihood of getting better chests also increases the probability of filling up on Pink F faster as a team, which is good. Last up in A tier is actually going to be Arthur. Arthur, both weapon masteries are actually merged into one perk, Weapon Master melee attacks. It was reduced by 5%, but it goes back up to 30% at Prestige 1. Weapon Master's sword, now having a personal weapon mastery, he does attack faster. His personal DPS will be noticeably higher, especially when you go into his Pink F tree. He has up to 5 Pink F now in melee. This allows him to have 20% extra melee damage and attack with a 20% faster. So 20% extra attack speed along with Weapon Master Sword allows him to actually pull off heavy attacks quite faster than most characters in the game, which is pretty good. This is pretty fucking good, I must admit. But he is the melee guy. If you see an Evil Dead 1 selected on your team, and if you're playing leader, Arthur is not a bad choice. There's nothing really to say about this guy. He's just, the melee dude. So, but of course, for someone who's focused on melee, he is also a leader. So that debuff to guns isn't there. So he has that going for him. All right. And B+, we have my boy Henry the Red. Henry the Red has gotten nerfed quite a bit. That cooldown for the active is, oh my god, 100 seconds. I think something that people are forgetting is that though Henry's power is annoying, there are various ways to go about it. And I think people forget Unstoppable does not stop you from getting demon dashed. Unstoppable does not stop you from getting boss grabbed. Unstoppable does not stop you from getting telekinetic shocked. Unstoppable does not stop you from getting possessed if your fear is beyond a certain threshold. So it is important to be mindful, because the cooldown is so long right now, be mindful to bait out your opponent's options. Don't just run up on a body and press unstoppable, thinking you're a big dick nigga, and then you just get possessed and ran away. Bait out your opponent's options. You are unstoppable when it comes to being perturbed by attacks. You can still be interrupted. You're not uninterruptible. You're not invincible. You're just mildly unstoppable and an inconvenience. Getting an extra shield bar is nice. It'd be great if it was 2. Rebound is nerfed. But oh well. And he has one of the weakest prestige ones in the game, only receiving 2% extra health. One of the weakest prestige ones in the game, if not the weakest prestige one in the game. So though Unstoppable is going to be quite useful in very clutch situations, his prestige value is quite low, especially with how long his fucking Unstoppable cooldown already is. He gains almost no individual perk value from prestiging. Next up on the list is going to be the queen herself. Yo, imagine. Cheryl. I should actually probably... Why do I have only one in that? Oh, I was dicking around with builds, that's probably why. I was dicking around with the builds. So yeah, we got Cheryl. Cheryl is the standard healer, the standard burst healer. She does not scale at all according to anything. So Cheryl is the most consistent. She's not trash, she's not garbage. She is the most consistent. She lacks any skill. She doesn't go beyond anything. So she does not improve with team comp. She doesn't. There is nothing. There is no scaling for Cheryl. She just does Cheryl things. And there's no hate to Cheryl players. She just doesn't. And she's just a good starter healer to play as. I mean, that's all I can say. I mean, she drinks the shemps. She can hold 8 shemps, up to 8 shemps. She drinks shemps. There's some D-fear with the shemps, and some extra heal. When you drink, you know. Oh, I yawned there. There's some extra heal when you drink. So I was like, she's just super straightforward and super simple. One thing that's very annoying is that people will drop a bunch of shemps, often when it's a Cheryl, but sometimes they won't drop a bunch of shemps when it's another support. That leads to a lot of inflation of Cheryl heals. So if it's a support, even if it's not a Cheryl, you guys can be safe to drop them some shemps as well. Cheryl is not bad, however, Cheryl cannot adapt to any situation. Cheryl has almost no niche, which is fine. There needs to be a good beginner healer for people. Next up in B tier is actually going to be the blacksmith. The blacksmith is not bad, but the blacksmith has some drawbacks. The blacksmith is not able to use a gun. So not being able to use a gun means that if a hunter is possessed, especially with a good gun, that is your ass, Mr. Postman. That is your ass. That is your ass. It also means that he does not have any peel from range. He does not peel things off from a range. So if Evil Ash is on someone, he has to go in and get some free hits in on himself, and not be able to heal immediately. So he is interesting, right? Because especially if Evil Ash is fully invested in, if this guy comes in trying to swing on Evil Ash can simply turn around and start putting on the pressure for this guy. You can go full tank, you can go mix, you can do pretty much whatever you want. He does have good self-heal, but he's forced to self-heal because he has to take damage. He cannot shoot, so his blows always exchanges with some risk. But of course, thanks to Weapon Master Melee, he does have quite a bit of attack speed, and that brings with it balance bar, and the ability to balance bar stun things a little bit quicker and mitigate the damage to your team. So between that and Tough as Nails, obviously to get some more of that health, you have Rough and Ready, which allows you to pop an amulet and actually provide shield for your team. But something that people are a bit forgetting is I keep hearing about the 15% extra melee damage. There is no 15% extra melee damage. They nerfed it. It's 10%. 13% at Prestige 1. The cooldown is 40 seconds though. So that means it is relatively inconsistent. So some people would rather actually, if you can, just have an Arthur on the team to have a consistent melee buff. The 40% cooldown, 40-second cooldown is just, nah. Not a big fan of, but it is fine. I do like Blacksmith. I like his voice lines. He's not a bad character. He just has some hang-ups. Not being able to use the gun means that when it comes to being damaged by Evil Ash and Henrietta, there could be some complications. Next up is actually going to be Pablito. So all these supports, generally the least flexible of them. Supports, some of them drop off at the book, and that's pretty much well, Pablo and Cheryl dropping off at the book. Pablo, oof. Generally, regenerating shield over time is not bad. However, it's just 1 bar. But if you're kiting and doing things well, that 1 bar could help, especially if you're running full tank build like I am, like a crackhead or something for some reason. Then it could be a bit more effective for that if you want to lean into that ability a bit much. So you should probably really save your shields for the most part, and definitely invest in shield early. Because you're going to be carrying a lot of them. Legacy of El Brujo. It's not bad. I don't know why he only carries 1 extra amulet. Because, I'm about to say Amanda. Cheryl can carry 2 extra shimps. But Pablo can only carry 1 extra amulet. That is dumb. That is dumb. Even at Prestige 1, they didn't increase the amount that he can carry. So, they're very stingy with Pablo. Infernal Camouflage allows you to share with your friends now, but it's only 8 seconds. Once again, if it lasts too long, then it would be probably overpowered, right? People just go into cars and dick around, but yeah. So I know that they're a little bit scared to give this guy some real good stuff, but he is Pablo. He's our boy, and we need a Pablo's fish and chips, or Pablito's fish and chips shirt. We should be getting one soon. Hopefully, praying for that. One little last note on the Pablito though is that he is good for farming headshots and damage early because you don't pop up on the map. So if you get yourself a revolver or a gun and you should want to go around headshotting every goddamn thing, you know, why not, right? Inflate that scoreboard, buddy. Inflate. And next up, last in B tier, is going to be Amanda Fisher. Amanda Fisher is either really difficult or really easy to play as. That's according to her perks. I'm going to actually work her up to Prestige 5. One Prestige 5's up, she has the highest DPS potential in the game. Thanks to her ability Ammo for Days and Accuracy Counts. Accuracy Counts is actually on the little bit more difficult side of stacking. So she is skill based if you are stacking Accuracy Counts. She starts off with a pistol and does extra damage with the pistol. The issue with the pistol is that the damage is a little bit low. So unless you're chaining headshots, it's just not really going to be worth it. And one of the other issues is that they actually nerfed headshots. So her scaling was really ridiculous, and now it's not so good. But at Prestige 1, it does compensate for some of the stuff. But all in all, the pistol might not be the best gun to stick with when it comes to Amanda, unless it's a higher rarity or unless you're a headshot person, unless you're getting 80-90 headshots per game on average. Ammo for Days is not bad, especially when you go to Prestige 5. 9 seconds of not having to reload is just utterly fucking ridiculous when it comes to stuff like that, and Ammo for Days. Not a bad character. She will still be the queen to me, no matter what. I'll get back into playing her. But definitely, she is a skill-based character. Not the easiest character to use, but a nostalgic character on the roster for me. So now we are going to go into C tier. C tier, we're going to go into Mia Allen. You can go bulky, you can go damage if you want, you can go, it's all up to you. These are just placeholders. I normally just play dudes a little bit bulky. Mia Allen has an interesting active ability, Uncontrollable. It allows her to... she gains fear over time, but she can't be possessed. This is very, very interesting and a good thing to pop right after you get Demon Dash. So let's say you're about to go for a save, but then you get Demon Dash, you pop your stuff, and now they have to summon a unit, and they can't possess you to stop you from getting the save. So that's one thing. Also because your fear is increasing, your damage is increasing over time, which is pretty solid. But of course, it does decrease later. Fear leads to anger, so that's the damage. It only increases the damage by 5%, but it is an increase. So 5% is not bad for a prestige increase. And Blood Rain does allow for bleed damage, which is good. But sometimes you might need to hit it and quit it. So you might need to hit something and then bolt or get out of there, or you just stay in and melee the shit out of everything. And Weapon Master Machete, be mindful. A feared up Mia with a machete is one of the scariest things I've ever encountered in this game. Especially with that Weapon Mastery, she will attack so fast, and especially when when possessed. For some reason, these motherfuckers attack like crackheads, with crackhead speed when they are possessed by the demon. So, since there is a Weapon Mastery and it is generally a faster weapon, yeah, you might get utterly destroyed by a Mia. There's several times where I just hated Mia players on my team just because of the fear leads to anger ability. Next up is Scotty. Scotty is like Mia, but with a little bit lower DPS, but more AoE damage. Able to use Thunder Thrust to finish off a certain amount of enemies around him in order to defear himself. Collateral damage at Prestige 1 is something that allows him to actually come into his own. The issue is that the impact radius buff for collateral damage is just really small for Prestige 1 buff. It should be at least 12 feet instead of 10.8 feet for a buff, but oh well. And exposure therapy is what allows him to defear. And Weapon Master Lumberjack acts a little bit faster. A little bit faster on the attack speed. So these are not bad. It's all about preference and playstyle. When I place characters like Scotty and Mia, it's not that they suck, that they're going to be in C tier because they totally suck. No, it's more along the lines of what do they have to offer the team comp when compared to those above them. And next up, of course, last but not least, is going to be Kelly. No. Kelly is not bad, but she doesn't offer anything extravagant. Your next range shot after successfully dodging inflicts bleed on your target for a short amount of time, and yeah. So you tell me that you want to possess Kelly shooting at you, and then you slowly bleeding out. Yeah. Or you have one with the meat hammer stun locking you. Yeah. So Kelly is just not fun as a possessed ally. Her niche is the bleed damage. That niche does keep critters like the she-bitch and Elagos in check, because even if you miss a shot or two, the bleed damage from the initial shot will do something to him, In Battle Frenzy, it's increased melee damage a little bit, but it's a hunter with already a debuff melee damage. So again, not bad as a mixed character if you want to go that route. I'm not saying she's not fun, but just in terms of what the other hunters provide, Kelly just doesn't provide that much more. And that is it, guys. And that is it for the video. It's going to be the S tiers, the A tiers, the B tiers, and the C tiers. And I get it. Some of y'all might be big Kelly fans and whatnot. I totally get it. But everyone has their own perspective. Who do you like to play as? What is your tier list in this game? Let me know. Y'all stay safe, stay hydrated, and of course, have a good one.